To assure the energy security of Ukraine, Naftogaz has filed a lawsuit to the European Court of Justice against the Euro Commission. The Ukrainian company wants to cancel the Euro Commission's decision, which allowed the Russian Gazprom to use the Opal pipeline. According to Naftogaz, this decision breaches the Association Treaty and EU's obligations of the Energy Charter Treaty. This way, Gazprom has the ability to supply more resources without going through Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Arbitration Institute of the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce is going to make its first decision on the Naftogaz against Gazprom case concerning a gas contract which was signed in 2009 between Vladimir Putin and Yulia Tymoshenko. We're going to talk with our today's guest about these issues, their possible outcomes, and how to guarantee Ukraine's energy security. Our guest is a Ukrainian MP and the chairperson of the Investment Committee, Nataliya Katser-Buchkovska. Hello, and thank you for coming.
Hello.
So my first question would be, how would you evaluate the Ukrainian energy market in general?
Well, first of all, I would say that our energy market has been changed a lot since 2013. Since 2014, we started to reform energy markets, especially we started from gas market. And in 2015, new gas market law was enacted, and this law allows us to create some competition on the market, to diversify energy flows, and to create more or less, I'm not talking about whole, but competitive market. At the moment, well, as I said, we achieved a lot. First of all, Ukraine are not buying any more gas from one big supplier, monopolist Gazprom, due to the security reasons. First of all, we need the security of supply, and we need to be sure that our population will have gas, heat, electricity. Secondly, and it's also not issue of security, but economic issue of price. Before this diversification, Ukraine bought gas due to the contract signed by Tymoshenko at the price of $450 per 100 cubic meters. And now Ukraine can buy gas at 170, more or less, depending on the gas hub prices.
So we got a real bargain here.
Right? Well, and this is a good issue, as well as Ukraine buying from different suppliers from different European countries. We already have 15 independent gas suppliers, and it makes our country more or less stable in terms of gas supply, and we need to develop this market. Second
You're saying that we need to develop this market. How can Ukraine diversify energy supplies at this point, since we're already cooperating with 15 European countries, as you have already mentioned?
Yes, I talk about gas market, but we also now we are in the process of reform of electricity market. We support renewables, and I am a big advocate of renewables and green energy in Ukraine. So now this market is very, very small, but start growing. So diversification means that we should turn to more sustainable energy. We should find different sources which can substitute each other's. The biggest market, of course, is gas. And as I said, we already diversify as internal supplier, but at the moment we need to increase our own gas production. And more loyal tax regime for gas extraction company is needed. And I and my colleagues in committee, we initiated law to decrease royalty for independent gas suppliers and trying to attract more investment into this sphere. But a lot of things need to be done in this sphere. First of all, we should follow all EITI rules to make this market more transparent and more understandable for international investors. Secondly, we should decrease the royalties for independent gas producers. And of course, the simplification and regulation of all necessary processes to start drilling in Ukraine, because there is a lot of rules, outdated permissions, duplicated norms and requirements. So real investors, they can be lost in our regulation, and this is the most important to make investors sure that regulation will not change, and they have predictable time and predictable expenditures to start their entity here and to understand how it will go. So transparency, deregulation, tax regime, and predictability are the most important things to increase gas production in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Right now, Russia is trying to build pipelines that are going to go around the territory of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And sell gas to Europe indirect. Would you say that this would make Europe weaker and or more dependent on Russian gas, on Gazprom's gas, to be precise?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, true. As a response to our gas diversification and diversification of supply, gas market reform in Ukraine, Russia initiated these Nord Stream 2 projects. I consider, and a lot of experts, this project to be only politically motivated. Because, to be honest, there is no need for additional capacities to transport gas from Russia to the European Union. And which is more important, it's not only Ukrainian issue, it's the issue of regional energy security, that Europe will become more dependent from one gas producer and one gas transportation company, which is absolutely against third energy package, association agreement, and the principles of European law. So, because of high politicization, 5 biggest European companies, they rejected to participate in a Nord Stream 2 project, and they analyzed the financial data, and there is no any economical viability to build such an expensive project. But from the other side, Gazprom announced that they will finance by themselves. But they have not received all permissions, as well as permissions from the countries which should allow to use their territorial territories for this pipeline. So, of course, it's not in Ukrainian interest at all. We could lose our transportation fee. So we are trying to raise this issue on an international level to show the danger of this project, to remind that this is against competition, this is politically motivated, and this project is a tool in hybrid war against Ukraine.
So in general, would you say that Ukraine is important for Europe in terms of energy security at this point?
Ukraine is vitally important because of geographical position. We have the biggest gas transportation system. We have a very big reservoirs of gas. We have 12 biggest gas storages, and Ukraine is the perfect place to build a gas hub, which could be the place of gas exchange, and it also will decrease competition, decrease prices on the regional level. And this topic is also under discussions, as well as Ukraine could develop LNG market as well, because we are between East and Europe, and US is also interested to transport LNG through Ukraine. So this idea is under discussions, and I suppose that Ukraine plays an important role, and Ukraine will play a more important role in the regional energy security.
Thank you so much for such an informative conversation. This was Nataliya Katser-Buchkovska, chairperson of the Investment Committee of Ukraine. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.